You ever get that feeling when you're just stuck? You know, you're looking at a problem from every single angle, turning it over and over in your head, but nothing, no solution. Well, today, we're going to dive into a really fascinating concept from our source material. It's called the fifth dimension. And it's this idea that maybe, just maybe, there's a whole new perspective available to us, one that could honestly change how we see, well, everything.
All right, so let's jump right in with a question that I bet a lot of people who meditate have asked themselves at some point. You finally settle in, you find that quiet space, your mind starts to clear, and then you get this really distinct feeling that you're just gone, like you've been transported somewhere else. So the big question is, if you're not right there in the room anymore, where are you?
The answer our source gives us is pretty profound. It's not really about where you go, it's about how you're perceiving things. This isn't a trip to another city or, another galaxy. It's about exploring an experience that exists completely beyond our normal day-to-day understanding of time and space.
So instead of thinking of it as a physical location, the idea here is that this destination is actually a totally different dimension. It's a fundamental shift in your awareness, a journey not outward into the world, but inward, deep into the very fabric of how you perceive reality itself. And that brings us right to the heart of what we're talking about today, the fifth dimension. Now, the source uses this really powerful phrase for it. It's about marrying consciousness with time and space. I know, that might sound a little out there, but trust me, we're about to break down exactly what that means. It's actually a pretty cool idea. So what is this fifth dimension, really? Well, our source material gets right to the point. It defines it as consciousness, just consciousness itself. And check out this description. It's pretty amazing. It's the infinite dimension that's basically underneath everything we see and feel. It has no boundaries, no beginning, no end, no past, no future. It's just eternally now. This chart here really lays it all out beautifully. On one side, you've got our normal, everyday world, right? The four dimensions, time and space. It's a world defined by boundaries, and let's face it, a lot of the time, our options can feel pretty limited. But then, you look at the other side, the fifth dimension, consciousness, and suddenly, all those boundaries, gone. And what's left is what the source calls unadulterated bliss. So here's the real kicker. The goal of meditation isn't to escape our world for that blissful one. Not at all. The real goal is to bring that fifth dimension into our world. It's this idea that you can actually train your nervous system to be aware of all five dimensions at the same time, right in the middle of your regular everyday life. Okay, I get it. This can all sound super abstract. So let's bring it down to earth with a really simple analogy from our source material. And this little analogy might just change how you think about solving problems forever. And it starts with something we can all relate to, right? Life. Yeah, it often feels like a puzzle we just can't solve. We've all been there, you're feeling stuck, you're going around in circles trying to jam pieces together that just do not want to fit. Okay, and this analogy just nails it. So picture this. You've got a puzzle laid out flat on a table, right? That's your two-dimensional view. And you're trying to force these two pieces together, but they will not fit. It's so frustrating. But then, what happens? A hand comes in, lifts those two pieces up into the air, into the third dimension, and what do you know? They click together perfectly. It was never about the pieces being wrong. It was the perspective that was limited. The whole thing gets solved the second you add a new dimension to the mix. And that puzzle story, it perfectly captures the practical, real-world impact of the fifth dimension. Adding consciousness to the way we see things isn't just some neat philosophical trike. It's a whole new perspective that can totally change how we live our lives. So what does this new perspective actually do for you? Well, you start seeing everything in a totally new light. You're not stuck on that flat tabletop anymore. You realize you can actually influence the course of your life because your options are no longer just this straight, limited line in front of you. Problem solving becomes less about forcing things and more about seeing the whole picture from a higher vantage point. And when that happens, all the stuff that used to be so confusing, it just starts to make sense. Yeah, it's just like that puzzle. Once you bring in that new dimension of awareness, all the pieces of your life that felt so random and disconnected, they finally start to click into place. So this all leads us to the final and honestly, probably the most important point from our source. Where do we find this amazing new perspective? Do we need to go find some teacher or a special guide to show us the way? Well, the answer might not be what you expect. The ultimate takeaway from our source is summed up in these four simple, powerful words.
The guru is in you. Think about that. The wisdom to see the bigger picture, the ability to tap into this fifth dimension and solve your life's puzzles. It isn't something you have to go looking for. It's not out there somewhere. It's already within you. So the thought I want to leave you with is pretty simple. Now that you know this potential is there, inside of you, what are you going to do with it?